Acts chapter 26. I couldn't just walk away. Agrippa spoke directly to Paul. Go ahead, tell us about yourself. And Paul took the stand and told his story. I can't think of anyone, King Agrippa, before whom I'd rather be answering all these Jewish accusations than you, knowing how well you are acquainted with Jewish ways and all of our family quarrels. From the time of my youth, my life has been lived among my own people in Jerusalem. Practically every Jew in town who watched me grow up, and if they were willing to stick their necks out, they'd tell you in person, knows that I lived as a strict Pharisee, the most demanding branch of our religion. It's because I believed it and took it seriously, committed myself heart and soul to what God promised my ancestors. The identical hope, mind you, that the 12 tribes have lived for night and day all these centuries. It's because I have held on to this tested and tried hope that I'm being called on the carpet by the Jews. They should be the ones standing trial here, not me. For the life of me, I can't see why it's a criminal offense to believe that God raises the dead. I admit that I didn't always hold this position. For a time, I thought it was my duty to oppose this Jesus of Nazareth with all of my might. Backed with the full authority of the high priests, I threw these believers, I had no idea that they were God's people, into the Jerusalem jail right and left. And whenever it came to a vote, I voted for their execution. I stormed through their meeting places, bullying them into cursing Jesus, a one-man terror obsessed with obliterating these people. And then I started on the towns outside of Jerusalem. One day, on my way to Damascus, armed as always with papers from the high priests authorizing my action, right in the middle of the day, a blaze of light outshining the sun, poured out of the sky on me and my companions. Oh, King, it was so bright. We fell flat on our faces. Then I heard a voice in Hebrew. Saul, Saul, why are you out to get me? Why do you insist on going against the grain? I said, Who are you, Master? The voice answered, I am Jesus, the one you're hunting down like an animal. But now up, on your feet. I have a job for you. I've handpicked you to be a servant and a witness to what's happened today and to what I'm going to show you. I'm sending you off to open the eyes of the outsiders so they can see the difference between dark and light and choose light. See the difference between Satan and God and choose God. I'm sending you off to present my offer of sins forgiven and a place in the family, inviting them into the company of those who begin real living by believing in me. What could I do, King Agrippa? I couldn't just walk away from a vision like that. I became an obedient believer on the spot. I started preaching this life change, this radical turn to God, and everything in it meant in everyday life. Right there in Damascus, went on to Jerusalem and the surrounding countryside, and from there to the whole world. It's because of this, quote, whole world dimension that the Jews grabbed me in the temple that day and tried to kill me. They want to keep God for themselves, but God has stood by me, just as he promised, and I'm standing here saying what I've been saying to anyone, whether king or child, who will listen. And everything I'm saying is completely in line with what the prophets and Moses said would happen. 1, the Messiah must die. 2, raised from the dead. He would be the first rays of God's daylight shining on people far and near, people both godless and God-fearing. That was too much for Festus. He interrupted with a shout. Paul, you're crazy. You've read too many books. Spent too much time staring off into space. Get a grip on yourself. Get back into the real world. But Paul stood his ground. With all respect, Festus, Your Honor, I'm not crazy. I am both accurate and sane in what I'm saying. The king knows what I'm talking about. I'm sure that nothing of what I've said sounds crazy to him. He's known all about it for a long time. You must realize that this wasn't done behind the scenes. You believe the prophets, don't you, King Agrippa? Don't answer that. I know you believe. But Agrippa did answer. Keep this up much longer and you'll make a Christian out of me. Paul, still in chains, said, That's what I'm praying for. Whether now or later, and not only you, but everyone listening today, to become like me, except of course for this prison jewelry. The king and the governor, along with Bernice and their advisors, got up and went into the next room to talk over what they had heard. They quickly agreed on Paul's innocence, saying, There is nothing in this man deserving prison, let alone death. Agrippa told Festus, he could be set free right now if he hadn't requested for the hearing before Caesar.